Okay, let's make sure everything is up and running here. Beautiful. Stick that over here. Cool beans. Let's get ourselves started. Welcome, Tony. Welcome, BVD. Thanks for hanging out with us on our live stream as well. Appreciate that. Hope you guys had a great weekend. I know I did. And let's go ahead and get ourselves started with the weed process. And we'll do that to get this first bag to everybody who was hanging out with us in the premiere. That was Tony, that was BVD, that was Danny, that was Carlos. Indication. Indica Station. That makes way more sense. Well, welcome, Indica Station. How are you doing? Thanks for hanging out with us. I'm not sure if you've ever been with us before, but welcome. We'll include you in our first volcano bag dedication. And speaking of, fresh bag today, never been used. Not that the other one was dead, I did accidentally break it. Okay. And we've got some no longer wedding cake. We've got some space trails. Not sure what that is. But that is the strain we're going with today. Very affordable, $100 or so ounce of indica of some kind. At 28% THC, although I kind of doubt it. There is a lot of weed THC inflation in the industry. Neat. All right, well, thank you again to everybody who was hanging out with us on our premiere. Get this weed started. This is, again, Space Trails. Well, thanks, Indica Station. Glad you could hang out with us. I hope all is well with you. Well, I am so curious if anybody hanging out with us right now is a fan of Nathan Fielder's latest experiment. I think that's the only fair way to describe it. His HBO show, The Rehearsal, a show that is nearly impossible to describe, especially accurately. I guess you would describe it in, if you were going to attempt to describe it, you would say a man, Nathan Fielder, famous for his show Nathan For You, where he gave businesses terrible business advice. It was a reality TV show, a comedy reality TV show, where he gave businesses terrible advice, business advice, and then filmed them with his awful advice. For example, frozen yogurt place coming up with a shit flavored ice cream. The Rehearsal is sort of takes that Nathan For You concept and really ratchets it up with both Nathan at his most abstract and more importantly with HBO's dollars behind it. So the very brief pitch would be Nathan gives people an opportunity to practice an encounter with another human being in their life ahead of time in the most controlled and detailed environment possible. So the pilot, the first episode, he helps a gentleman who wants to have a difficult conversation with his trivia group in New York City. He wants to inform them after many years that he doesn't actually have a college degree like he said he did. And he was very nervous about this conversation. So Nathan literally built an entire brick for brick replica of the bar that he has this trivia in, paid dozens of people to be actors, and rehearsed this conversation with hundreds of different outcomes and possibilities hundreds of times so that the guy could be ready for any possibility and inevitability in this conversation. That's episode 1, and that is how the show is pitched. It abandons it really by the end of episode 2. It's only 6 episodes long, and then by the end, it becomes really, truly one of the strangest things ever on TV. And me, giant Nathan Fielder fan, love Nathan For You. I think Finding Francis, the finale, is one of the greatest things ever filmed. I was left at the end of the 6th episode of season 1 of The Rehearsal, feeling not sure what, and not disappointed, and not entirely confused, but really looking for somebody to help me make sense of what Nathan was trying to do there. And I'm curious if any of you guys are fans of The Rehearsal, and if so, what you thought of the culmination of the first season. What was he trying to say to us? I thought I got what he was trying to say by episodes 4 and 5, which I thought were phenomenal, where Nathan does the thing that I've always wanted him to do, which is to tell us what an unreliable narrator he is, and that what he is doing is making a show, and he is the puppet master, and he has every power and every lever at his fingertips to make these outcomes that he wants to have happen. So what does that mean about the finale of that first season? Should we believe any of what transpired there to be true? Is he pulling a prank on us? I don't know. I'm very intrigued, and again, very curious if you guys have been watching. BVD says that they have never seen it, heard of it just now. Well, if you've never seen Nathan For You, BVD, I would tell you to check out Nathan For You. It is one of the, it really is one of the funniest things ever filmed, in addition to one of the most bold experiments ever conducted on TV in terms of like a formalistic experiment. What can we do with this medium? And what can I do as a storyteller, both to manipulate the people involved to get the outcomes that I want, and even sort of more profoundly, you, the viewer, how can I fuck with you from, a point past in time and space? And that is what The Rehearsal is very much doing. And it abandons the idea of it being a comedy, really, by the episode 3. It's done. There are times where it'll make you laugh. As a matter of fact, in the finale, I probably laughed the hardest at anything I've laughed this year, but I would definitely not call The Rehearsal a comedy at this point. But if you've never seen Nathan For You, you must check it out. You've probably even been exposed to some of its brilliance, even if you've never seen it. Many people know of Dumb Starbucks or the goat that saves the baby pig. These are all stunts that he pulled while working on a small budget Comedy Central show. Now that he's got those HBO dollars, he is doing unbelievably weird things with them. Weird. Nobody on TV is doing anything like it. Welcome, Danny. And welcome back, Josh. Josh says, just picked up a Rove Skywalker right now. And he's right in time for smoking with us here. Very cool. Glad you could be back with us, Josh. Justin, welcome back. Justin says, look who's live. Just got done cutting some grass, and now I'm about to smoke some grass. Well, welcome back, Justin. Glad that you could have us. Be here with us, rather. And hopefully not too hot where you are. All right, let's get our second bag going here. Okay, well, this second bag here is going to be for our newcomers. Looks like we got, we'll throw this one out for Justin and Joshua, who didn't call out in our first time. So yes, rehearsal. Great, great. Well, if nothing else, fascinating. What other cool things did I check out this weekend? I watched a bad movie that I think I want to talk about. Boy, it is a movie that is less of, absolutely the less, what is the expression? Less than the sum of its parts. This is a brand new movie just out in theaters and on AMC called Tuscan... Spin Me Around is the name of the title. Spin Me Round. It stars all of your favorite people from your Thursday night lineup on NBC in the mid-aughts. So it's got an Office star, it's got a Parks and Rec star, it's got a 30 Rock star, it's got a Community star. Mostly Allison Brie, Aubrey Plaza. And it is about it's a weird movie that amounts to totally nothing. It's got a great hook, and it pulls you in with its fun, inviting, novel premise, which is that it is a group of Olive Garden-like managers. They all are managers for this restaurant called like Tuscan Villa or something. I don't know. It's supposed to be Olive Garden. And it's a comedy thriller, comedy suspense, maybe? I don't know. And every year the company puts on a retreat for its top managers. It sends them to the titular Tuscan village in Italy where they get to meet Mr. Olive Garden himself and learn about the process of becoming better Olive Garden managers. Which actually sounds like a pretty great premise for a weird comedy. And then it gets weirder. They get there and things get weirder and weirder. And then it becomes kind of clear, although nothing is ever really clear what was going on, that maybe it's actually a front for an orgy kind of Eyes Wide Shut type scenario, but it's always kind of funny. And boy, yeah, it has this, that is such a great premise, basically. Like, it kind of seems like it's going to be a Dinner for Schmucks or what's the other kind of, a Cruel Intentions movie, where it seems like it's going to be a bunch of rich people in Italy inviting the dumbest, most boring people in the world, which you might imagine are Olive Garden middle managers, and inviting them to Italy to make fun of them. But it's not that. It's like they want to bang them, kind of. Not a great movie. I don't understand how they got so many wonderful, smart, funny people to be involved in this. And again, it starts great. Who doesn't like the idea of making fun of people who work at Olive Garden, and also then adding this like creepy corporate mystery into it? Not even worth continuing to talk about. But again, that movie is called Spin Me Around. You'll probably see it on Netflix or something at some point in the very near future. And you can just go ahead and skip it. CKW, welcome back. CKW says, I'm about to enjoy a nice Kiva bar. Ooh, very jealous. CKW, which one are you enjoying at the moment? All of their chocolate is just amazing. Amazing. Like, tastes good, even with weed in it. Excuse me. I've been playing so much of my brand new Steam Deck. I mean, a scary amount of it. It's a great thing to have. I find myself just wanting to go places recently just so I can go be somewhere different and play PC games. Like, I'm like, oh, let's go out to dinner somewhere with the patio. Not because I actually want to go eat at a restaurant or anything. I just really just want an excuse to play Steam Deck somewhere cool. And as I said, I've been playing a lot of it. I probably put like a shameful 40 hours of game playing into my Steam Deck in its first week. And what's a truly wonderful thing about it is going back and playing through PC games that are been sitting in my Steam library for years and years that I never either actually started or completed or meant to get back to. And the first and primary one I'm going to talk about is Metal Gear Revengeance, which is the Metal Gear spin-off. There were a lot of those. This one is not starring everybody's favorite Solid Snake, or Snake, I guess because not all of them star Solid. It stars everybody's favorite switcheroo character, and one of the greatest. Man, we look back and forget about what kind of incredible magic and twists that Kojima was able to pull on us years ago. But it stars everybody's favorite switcheroo character, Raiden, who was infamously the protagonist of Metal Gear Solid 2, much to everybody's dismay, 21 years ago now. And this is in no way a stealth game. It is one of the most fast-paced, adrenaline-filled action games you have ever seen, made by Platinum, that people make basically only those kind of games, intense action games. And here Raiden is following events in Metal Gear Solid 4, I think. Raiden's basically no longer a human. He's straight up just a cybernetic death warrior. And holy shit, is that game so satisfying to play. I love Metal Gear Solid. I think Metal Gear Solid 3 is one of the finest games ever made. I don't know what happened back in the year 2013 or whatever when Revengeance came out. I just played like an hour of it and gave up and uninstalled it and never came back. And now, years and years later, with the Steam Deck in my hands and all of the choices to play, I've had this hole in my heart for some Metal Gear Solid for so long. I've just needed to hear somebody go, "What? Metal Gear?" Or somebody on a codec going, "Snake! Snake! Snake!" Just had that huge Metal Gear Solid shaped hole in my heart for a while. And was like, well, I don't really want to go back and have to do emulators and that shit. Let's see if we can do it through this beloved action franchise. I'm in, baby. It's amazing. You could probably find this game for like $4 now. It is incredible. The thing that I was most worried about, the action gameplay isn't. If you like the Platinum stuff, you're going to love it here. It's maybe the best they've ever been in terms of actual gameplay. But the thing I love Metal Gear Solid for most is the overwrought, shockingly prescient, but also anime as fuck stories that Kojima puts together. Which, my God, was the dude just very scarily accurate about what things were going to become big issues in the future 20 years ago. And somehow Metal Gear Revengeance, this hardcore action game, manages to have all of the just almost, overwrought, overwritten, cheesy, eye-rolly dialogue and stakes of a Metal Gear Solid that I love so much, and then marries it with action games where you're like fighting on exploding oil tankers. You're fighting like on shrapnel that is exploding. You're jumping from like piece to piece, fighting tanks and shit. It's delightful. That's Metal Gear Solid Revengeance. You can find it on anything other than the Switch, I think, and for probably no money. love it. It plays incredible on the Steam Deck, even now, a decade or so later after its release. And Steam Deck, I'm playing a lot of contemporary things too. I said I was playing the new Lego Star Wars, playing this incredible uh, new indie game called Cult of the Lamb, which is like Stardew Valley time cross Hades. Excellent there. Love it all. Steam Deck lives up to the hype. I am absolutely loving mine. If you have any inclination, gonna give that big thumbs up right now. Justin asked, that's cool. Anything about it that you don't like? And he's been using his brother's Switch to play Pokemon Arceus, or I think that's how you say it, and probably about to buy one himself soon. Justin, there are plenty of things that I don't like about the Steam Deck. The one, Pokemon Arceus was pretty cool. I played it in January. I thought it was a really neat, new way to do a Pokemon game, which have been stale for a very long time. Hope they lean into that. And I'm hoping you're enjoying it too, Justin. I'm curious what you think. But so first and foremost, the screen sucks on the Steam Deck. I mean, it's fine. Suck is maybe a strong word, but man, I have the OLED Switch, and the screen is just orders of magnitude better on the Switch in terms of being an OLED and a nice OLED screen on the Switch. Now, in comparison to the non-OLED Switch, it's pretty much the same, but it is hard to go back, especially if you have nice screens and other things like your phones and iPads. It's a big old LCD screen with, it just doesn't feel like a premium screen in there, which, fair enough. I mean, they got to keep the cost down somehow, and it is a big honking screen. It's huge, much bigger than the Switch's screen, which is nice, but it's just not a great quality screen that's in there for sure. Although I don't actually mind the fact that it's pretty low res. It's not even 1080p. Just the LCD isn't great. Battery life is abysmal, by the way, Justin. And I'm not even a person who really cares or considers battery life that much. I think it's kind of often an overplayed issue. I think with the proliferation of cheap, huge capacity portable batteries, and I don't know many situations where I'm not around some kind of power source somewhere, and especially now with quick charging, I just don't find batteries to be that much of an issue. Like, I always have enough. The Steam Deck is not the case, man. There have been times where I said, like, oh, I want to go out somewhere and just play it. I mean, you've got like 2 hours if you want to play something and, really put the Steam Deck through its paces. It lets you, to its credit, tinker the hell out of it and, do whatever you can to ameliorate the shitty battery life thing, but I'm not really interested in that. I want the best possible Steam Deck experience when I'm playing it, so I just let it run at max juice, so, that's a little bit on me too, but the battery life is awful, and this is coming from somebody who doesn't care about battery too much. And it does feel cheap. Like, here it is here. It is a big hunkin' piece of molded plastic, and it's not cheap, brittle plastic, but it feels like a big hunk of plastic, right? Like, that is not, it doesn't even feel like the Switch, which feels actually a little bit like nicer materials. This is just utilitarian as hell. So it is, it feels, cheap isn't the right word, but it just, it doesn't feel premium. That being said, that's just talking about the actual like plastic, and it feels chunky and big and bulky. But That does not mean that the controls are bad. I was way surprised how comfortable it is to actually hold and access all the buttons and the analog sticks. It's a great layout, an excellent layout. Triggers are nice, way better, way less cramped than the Switch. Even though, again, it does feel a little cheap in some ways. All right, that's probably enough ranting about the Steam Deck. So there are a lot of, I do have problems up the wazoo with it. All of that being said, love it, love it, love it. And if you have any interest in the Switch is it was 5 years ago. This is no longer the case. The Switch was amped up mobile guts put inside of a, mobile / console form factor. And those are the kind of experiences you should expect with a Switch. Like great mobile hardware from 5 years ago, given a fan, cooling elements, those kind of things. Whereas the Steam Deck 100% feels like a PC or a laptop just rammed down to fit in something like this. And you can tell immediately how different those experiences are going to be. So I love it. Welcome, Eric. Good to see you. Sorry I missed you so long ago. I've been ranting for a while about the Steam Deck. Justin says, in regards to the new Pokemon Arceus, that he agrees it's nice to see something new with the games, and that, yeah, he's looking at the OLED himself. Glad to see you are enjoying the game, and that you like that OLED Switch screen, which is really nice, especially looking at a comparison to the Steam Deck. I am worried. I don't know. Nobody should ever be worried about Nintendo. They always figure it out. I mean, they fuck it up for a while and then they figure something out. But it is very hard to want to play anything other than Nintendo games on a Steam or on a Switch going forward. I don't think I'm ever going to play the Switch version of Rocket League or Civilization or any of the, indie type games ever again with the Steam Deck. They're just, one, it's probably going to be cheaper, and two, it's certainly going to run better on the Steam. Hey, Mark, good to see you, man. Welcome. How are you guys doing over there? In the cheery old UK, hopefully cooling down a little bit from the last time we talked. Sorry, I was reading something on chat and was confused by it, but I think I figured it out. Anyways, Justin asks, what is inside the Steam Deck? I don't have the exact spec sheet on me, but Justin, it is basically, it compares somewhat favorably in some ways to like an Xbox Series S. Like the souped down Xbox from this generation. It has like the current gen's chipset. It has that infrastructure basically in it. Of course, it is powered down so as that you can actually play a game for more than 6 seconds, but most of the things that are in the next-gen consoles have some kind of at least analog in the Steam Deck, meaning that we should hopefully expect to see like Steam Deck ports of current-gen stuff for at least a couple of years in a, scaled-down version. Especially with an Xbox Series S being out there, developers already have to make a version of their game that is meant for something significantly less powerful than the most powerful the systems. So I think that also bodes well for the Steam Deck being something that should be good for future games for a while. But that is speculation. Mark says they are doing much better and much cooler. Well, I'm glad to hear it, man. Yeah, it sounded just absolutely brutal. I seeing some of those pictures, Mark. I know most of them actually weren't from the UK, but I saw rivers in both France and Germany. That have gone, and I don't remember which they were. They weren't of course, the Seine or the Rhine or any of those, but some major rivers in both France and Germany that have essentially just gone dry. And here in the States, we are experiencing that also, just massive bodies of water used for many purposes, many purposes, whether it be the city's municipal water supply comes from these things, or of course power in terms of hydroelectric dams. Our international freshwater supply seems to be in some real dire straits right now. But yeah, it's scurry stuff. The beef. Well, welcome the beef. I think that's going to be my excuse to get ourselves another bag going, because I have to get one for Justin, Mark, and the beef. Well, welcome. Love the name, by the way. Ah, um, I've got a big, huge recommendation for you guys. One that, I mean, yes, I have a huge recommendation. Massive, massive. More so than even normal cherry on top. And thankfully, it doesn't require a whole lot of investment. It's free. It is a podcast, and blah, who likes podcasts? But it is one of the very few podcast episodes that I've ever I mean, I'm a person who recommends things to people all the time. That's my thing. I give people recommendations. Love doing it. I rarely recommend podcasts or things because I find the whole task kind of onerous. But there was an episode that came out on one of the very few shows I listen to. I used to listen to podcasts all the time. I pared down years ago and listened to almost nothing in terms of podcasts now, like maybe 5 shows a week. Very down from where I used to be. But one of the ones that I do listen to, that I long time fan, the Ezra Klein show. It used to be on Vox, now it's on New York Times. He just does a weekly interview show or a bi-weekly interview show. Always has incredible, fascinating guests. Ezra's thing is he is the most prepared interviewer on the planet. He, again, has fantastic guests, and his questions are just so razor sharp and so come from such just a learned place. You can tell the dude does his research. We're not here to recommend Ezra Klein so much in his show, but one particular episode, and this was one that was on earlier this year, that when I heard it, I told all my usual suspects, okay, guys, you got to check this out. Incredible show. It just came back, so it is, I think, actually the most recent episode of the Ezra Klein show. It just popped up as a best of episode, and I cannot recommend it enough. It is a philosopher who is essentially a philosopher of games. He studies games for a living. And they just talk about the philosophy of games, gamification, and how the rules and concept of games bleed into real life, and why that can be a good thing and why that can be a bad thing. why games are so utterly satisfying, why I love them. And coming from somebody like me who, I mean, I don't think there's anything in this world I love more than games of any type. I find them all varieties and also find them just fascinating to think about, like what drives us to play a game, what is a game. This episode is incredible. I think the guy's name is C.T. Nguyen, is the philosopher. It is like an hour and 15 minutes that will just make your brain sizzle the entire time. So many fun ideas, concepts introduced. A lot of things we talk about here on our live streams, but more eloquently and with more purpose. I couldn't recommend it more highly. Check that out. That again is the Ezra Klein Show, and it's the best of episode, The Philosophy of Games. Sorry about skipping chat here. Larry David, welcome, Larry. And I forgot to say again, this is for the beef. It's just me, Mark, Eric, and anybody else that I missed that I'm sure I did. Larry David says, crap edible warning. Good news brunch orange gummies. Avoid. Well, thank you, Larry, for giving us the heads up. That again is the Good News Brunch orange gummies. Interesting name, too. But apparently, no bueno. Justin says, that's awesome. Not sure if you mentioned the retail price on it. I like the idea that you can just take it wherever you want. Justin, great question. The retail price on the Steam Deck varies greatly. It's $400 to like $630. There is a base model for $400, which is actually, I think, surprising to Valve and to me too. The least popular model, and then there are three ones, and the most expensive one I think is $630. And the differences are storage, capacity, speed, and some other perks. I went with the mid-tier one and have no regrets. I would not do that base tier one, though, simply because it doesn't have the storage it has is not only very small at only 64 gigs, although it does have a micro SD card slot, which is wonderful. That storage speed is way slower than the ones that come on the other two. So I would go with the mid or higher tier, but that's just me. Thankfully, also though, everything inside of the Steam Deck is as user-friendly, replaceable as can be. Like every single part is replaceable, upgradable. You know, if you decide, I guess you want the better, higher speed memory later, you can order it. It doesn't have to be even the one from Valve, as long as it meets the exact standards. Put in your own type. It's a great philosophy in that regard, but yeah, no complaints there. Very cool. Wish more people would offer things like that. I guess though, as a consequence of being something so completely user friendly and repairable, it does look as utilitarian as it does. This does not look like an Apple product. Let's see. Eric says it happened in China too, and that desalination is going to get a push. Eric, what an excellent thing to bring in. I really appreciate it. Desalination is a topic I just don't quite understand. I mean, do I understand what desalination is? Yes. Desalination, if you don't know, is the process of removing salt from seawater. It is apparently, I don't know the science behind it. I have known since the process existed, which we've been able to do for quite some time. It is intensely energy intensive, incredibly energy intensive, and requires a lot of upfront costs too, extreme upfront costs, or at least that was the case for a long time. So even though we do have the capability of removing salt from seawater, in large quantities. Nobody ever really does it because it's too cost prohibitive. And how is any of that? Can any of that figured out with economies of scale? Like, it seems we are very quickly going to have to figure this out, and that we have this tech, we've had it for a long time, but it just doesn't seem to be useful. What is preventing it from us from having a large desalination push? And that seems to me to be something we should have been hitting the gas on a long, long, long time ago. But I don't know what the fundamental problem is. I mean, I guess I can actually understand why it would be so resource intensive. I assume it either involves boiling all the water away, which surely not, or you are going to have to use some kind of extractive process to get the CO2, not CO2, whatever the chemical composition of salt water is, the actual salt out. And I can see why those would be super expensive, but man, it seems like something, would be worth a lot of investment dollars. But you might know, Eric. Charlie says, I did some voluntary work today with a 14-year-old kid with autism. I took my parents' dog, Marshall, to go hang out with him, and it was absolutely awesome. That is so cool to hear, Charlie. Was the kid, did you know him ahead of time, or I'm not sure how Scotland's social services are set up. Was it like a social service visit, something put on by the, sponsored by healthcare, or did you, like a family friend? But that is really cool, and I'm glad that your dog and the kid seem to have a great time, including yourself. Any positive experiences kids with autism or on the spectrum can have are great, and especially, positive interactions with animals. Chef's kiss, gotta love it. What kind of dog is Marshall, by the way, Charlie? Wait, or have you told us before? You might have said that, and I'm sorry if I forgotten. And Charlie, giving us a hint here, was saying that he was telling his 14-year-old friend that he should play Destiny 2 with him as well. I have already installed it, Charlie. Remember, if you can hit me up on Twitter, email me something. Otherwise, I'm very likely to forget. But I would actually love to do some Destiny 2 something or other. Even maybe with like a whole Wheats community. I just will forget. And also, yeah, I have no better excuse than I will just slip my mind. But very interested. Let me get through this third bag, and then we'll get to our first dab of the day. Oh, Charlie was asking if I could give the episode of the Ezra Klein show. I would love to. Let me pull it up. I'm pulling up this link to the let's see. I only have the page to the Apple podcast version, and I hope that will be sufficient. Charlie Rico. Yes, I thought it was a border collie. I just didn't want to say that in case I was wrong. But I thought he was your parents' dog was a border collie because you mentioned it before. And that is that link to that show I was talking about. And it's so cool that Marshall loves is cool with kids. My border collie, man, he is he's not unfriendly. He just does not care about when we are out in the world, out and about, he is uninterested in other people, dogs. We are all he cares about is frisbee time 100% of the time. So he would not be a very good therapy dog for anybody, unless that person is really into throwing things over and over again. But he's not like that inside. He is a avaricious for attention and affection when it comes to being not working time. But anytime he's not in the house, it's also working time for him. Okay. Finishing this bag. I've been letting it linger for a while. Tom, welcome, Tom. Good to see you. Alex, welcome back, Alex. So glad to have everybody. Eric says he likes the tracking cam. It's actually available to anybody who has a relatively recent NVIDIA GPU. If you have a, I think it's 20 series or above NVIDIA GPU, so the last 2 generations, you should check out NVIDIA's broadcast app. I've used it for like 2 years now. It is excellent, 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 excellent. It's a free piece of software as long as, again, you have their GPUs. And I will let you know, so many people who use or do podcasts or YouTube videos and things use their software for the microphone stuff. It has unbelievable audio filtering. Like my air conditioning is running full blast right next to me here. It will tune out anything that isn't a human voice to a shocking degree. I mean, if I'm not speaking, that mic captures no sound. It's pretty crazy how good it is. And it also has very good video features. Ones that I've used for a while, it just has like denoising and that kind of stuff. But it's had an auto follow like this. It crops the image closer to begin with, and then it uses AI to move the camera within the image so it appears like the camera is panning, but it's not, because it's just cropped the image real close to begin with, and then just moves within the where it would have been able to see if it was showing you that full frame to give you that effect of like the camera is following your face around. But it's just basically cropping the image real time is what it's doing. It's pretty neat. I used to use the auto thing more, but some other software I had, blah, 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 doesn't matter. Cool point is, if you do have a good old NVIDIA whatever, some really fun software to mess around with. And with that, let's get this third dab going. And this is going to be for everybody who's joined us very recently. So our Charlies, our Toms, our Alexes, and I think that's going to catch us up. Relax, relax. I don't know if my dog is whining and has been for a while. You probably don't actually hear them because the software filters it out. Forgot I was supposed to name everybody again and show you. Coming to the end of my jealousy cross banana cream. Oh crap. There we go. Okay, let's see. Where am I in chat? I'm behind. Eric says the Saudis are using renewables. Some are using nuclear power for desalination. That seems like a wise use of nuclear power. I'm not being sarcastic at all. If it takes as much energy as has always been true to get salt out of water, if it requires that much use, I'm not nuclear averse. I think I understand. It's not that I'm not sympathetic to people's fears or complaints of nuclear power. And with the trajectory of the way the world is going, especially post in Ukraine invasion, maybe we shouldn't. But until you know, until there's going to be I just don't know if renewables are going to be enough to get us over our power gap if we're actually going to try to bust off fossil fuels super quickly. Nuclear is just a great way to do it quicker and cheaper than putting all the windmills and dams and geothermals and all the other wonderful, much better stuff, sort of, in the meantime. Let's just get a Dyson sphere going, guys. Let's just, let's think way bigger. And that way we can just, pretend like we don't have these problems because we're just going to wait for the Dyson sphere to come save us all. Tom suggests that all the nuclear waste we have rotting away is going to come back to bite us. It's not a bad prediction, Tom. The nuclear waste problem is way worse in the U.S. than people think it is. It's real bad in the U.S. We have all of these. We came up with a lot of solutions, ideas for what to do with it, and then didn't do those things, even though we've actually spent a lot of money to make some of them happen. Most nuclear waste is just kind of sitting very close to the source or somewhere depoted in a not spectacularly locked down location because nobody wants to be the place that houses all of our nuclear waste. I think probably still buried under a mountain. Of course, you get all these fun things like people going, well, what happens to the people who discover it in 10,000 years? How do you convey to people, humans, maybe not even humans, which is fun, think about. How do you pictographically lay out, for the love of God, do not enter this space that is in front of you because unimaginable horrors lay here and suffering beyond belief? That's like a genuine worry, and one that nobody has come up with a satisfying way to answer. And then, of course, there are the more parochial and small-minded concerns about nuclear waste. So instead of doing something, we're doing what we do best in America, and that is sticking our fingers in our ears, closing our eyes, and saying, maybe if we wish hard enough, just won't have to deal with it. And then, that always works out well. It's always a satisfying, usually leads to good solutions. So I appreciate your skepticism, Tom. Charlie says, in regards to his friend, that his dad used to be his old boss, and he put him up a job advertisement to find someone to support his kid. And Charlie volunteered to do it without any compensation, which is a classy thing to do. Not that people shouldn't be compensated for doing care work, because they should, especially here in the U.S. where we don't pay care workers, are maybe our lowest paid job sector. No, that isn't so much the case there. But, and I know that's absolutely not what you were suggesting, Charlie. You're just doing it because you're a class act. But, of course, if you do it as a profession, it's a noble, wonderful profession that deserves to be paid way more than they do. And cool that you are doing it just out of the goodness of your own humanity. Charlie says, what is my email, bro? And then he doesn't have a Discord. Wheatsreviews@gmail.com is the best. I used to have my own domain, but I stopped paying. And then somebody bought it. And I think I paid like $100 maybe to buy Wheats Reviews to have the actual domain. And then I forgot about it and I let it expire. And now like the person who bought it after me, of course, they want like I don't know, $2,500 or something. And no thanks. So wheatsreviews@gmail.com. If you go Wheats Reviews at wheatsreviews.com, it'll go to somebody. Would have been me at one point, but not anymore. Charlie says that they use the collies as sheepdogs in Scotland on farms. Yes, I know. It's so great. That's their actual purpose. And my border collie, who's literally right here annoying me, his name's Squid. He comes from a sheep farm, but of course not a Scottish sheep farm, but a sheep farm in East Tennessee. He's an actual like working stock dog. Yeah, I probably told this story before. Charlie, on many years ago, there is actually, if you live in a city big enough, there are going to be some weird people offering weird services that seem like they could never make sense, but somehow they find a market. And what's that one here in Southern California? Well, actually, just like 20 minutes away from where I used to live, there's a guy who lives right off the freeway, or the interstate, as you call it in every other state, who offers services for herding dogs, people who have herding dogs. He is a sheep farmer, and like 2 days a week, he rents out his herd, or a subsect of his herd, to people with herding dogs to come let them run around and chase sheep and get it out of them. We did it quite a few times, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, it is so much fun. And just to see my dog, like, who hadn't seen a sheep in 6 or 7 years at that point, just instantly know what to do it's just such a weird, it's almost kind of spooky and awe-inspiring. It's really, really interesting. But now he doesn't, now it's all about the Frisbee. Although he's getting old enough that, I can go a whole day without having to do it sometimes. Speaking of, though, I'm going to have to kick them out. They are being, especially. All right, guys, we're looking at sticks. Okay, I'm so sorry. I need to get through this chat. I'm falling way behind. How often do I say that? Too often. Dr. SJ, welcome. Dr. SJ says, daily dose of smeg. Don't be that guy who doesn't pick up after their dog. Like, come on. It's a reflection of who you are. I know Wheats is a great dog dad, so cheers to that. Dab o'clock, blinker time. Well, Dr. SJ, unfortunately, and welcome, Dr. SJ Smegma Jones. So glad you joined me. I wish I had read your comment before. We'll just have to speed round this bag for you in your comments. Thanks for hanging out with us. This bag is for you. And anybody else who's just joined us, like Brandon. Yes, and clean up after your dogs. Even if one of them is a Great Dane. I've probably picked up, let's say my Great Dane averages 2 shits a day. Each shit probably weighs, oh god damn, this is disgusting. Let's just abort and say that when I say I have picked up a shit ton of something, it's I don't mean it figuratively. Eric. Eric says he loves the smell of SME. GMA in the MORNING. Me too, man. Thanks so much again, Dr. Smegma Jones, and thank you, Eric, for the chant. I like that chant too. Brandon says, "What's up, bro?" He's in San Diego and he's smoking on a cured resin Alien Land cartridge. That sounds great, Brandon. Welcome back, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. I'm not sure if I've ever had any Alien Land cartridges before. I've had Alien Labs, but not Alien Lands. But there's a lot of alien iconography in weed. Dog haired by Tug. That's what it's like having a bunch of dogs. Now they're being even more annoying out here. Chill. That usually calms them down. Give them some time out. Oh boy. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate the heads up there. Yes, my dog's name's Squid. All my dogs have weird names. Newt was the first dog. That one's not that weird. The one that people hate, and people will let you know. Often, my Great Dane, who's sleeping behind us, her name is Frog, and people hate that name. They hate it. Some people literally doubt it's true. Or will even go so far as to say, you should change her name. Heard it more than once. I guess people have strong opinions, but she doesn't seem to mind. Anyways, Zach420, welcome back. Gonzo Baptist, welcome back. So glad to see both our old friends there. NC Rep Kicks says it's some Labrador, man. Well, that is a dog breed. Most popular dog breed in the U.S., I think. It's the Labrador Retriever. Is that still true? Or is the Frenchie finally overtaken it? I saw a sign yesterday, an advertisement on a telephone pole. I should have stolen it, actually. A very beautifully put together flyer advertisement for a 9-week-old French bulldog, already named, so no changing it. But they were asking like $4,000 for a little 9-week-old Kylie Jenner, and that was one of those. It's like I fucking hate pigeons, but and then I realized it was like 72 degrees in late August, and I was like, man, I love Los Angeles. Zach says he got raided for yesterday. Oh no. He said he called the cops on his neighbor for domestic abuse, but ended up getting plugged. That's terrible, man. I'm so sorry to hear that. And no good deed goes unpunished, I suppose. Always a good thing to call. If you think domestic violence is happening, a lot of unreported awful things happen. Domestic violence is a huge issue. It's really crept up since the pandemic. And of course, what's going to come of trying to do the be a good Samaritan and do the neighborly thing, which is have the police investigate in case there is some kind of true domestic abuse or incident going on, but instead getting investigated yourself. How quintessentially law enforcement. Zach is fortunate enough that they have no charges, but that is still unexcusable. And shame on the police force. Remind us, Zach, again, I'm so sorry, where you are located. I can't remember at the moment, but regardless of where it is, totally inexcusable. And again, sort of par for the course. But they took his precious peach cobbler plant and goddamn them for that. It seems like a very police thing to do, to go straight for the baked good named strain. Indiana. Thank you again, Zach. That's right. And but still, gross, grotesque, and no reason for it. Appalling behavior on the police. Dr. SJ says, do you ever consider yourself a celebrity? No joke, if I saw you versus an actor, I would be more stoked to meet you and light one up. Well, that is so very, 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 very kind of you to say, Dr. SJ. And if I ever saw you, I'd be so happy and thrilled to share some weed with you. But I can tell you, I definitively do not consider myself a celebrity. I'll be a gross, sort of vain asshole for a moment and tell you about the very few number of times I've been recognized. Most of those have been at dispensaries. One time from a delivery driver from a dispensary. One time on the street walking my dogs, saw somebody who worked for a business where I gave him, thankfully, a very good review. Dude just thanked me. He's like, hey, I know you from... It's weird when it happens. That's happened once. And then just one other time, somebody just randomly hey, man, I know you from YouTube. I like watching your stuff, just randomly. I don't even remember where I was. And that's it. 3 or 4 times at dispensaries. Once from a delivery driver. Once from somebody walking the dogs. Once somebody somewhere in Long Beach. And it was really weird because it was near the very beginning. After I'd only been doing it for 6 months. So I guess they were, probably knew me locally. The only time it's ever been really interesting and fascinating and was oh, wow, that is so weird. And it just happened at a time where it's oh, shit. Well, I would have preferred people not to know, but I was in Beverly Hills, of all places, with a pretty big group of people. None of them actually knew I did any internet stuff. I never saw that person, didn't know what they looked like. They never said anything more than this, but some dude just in the middle of traffic, walking down a busy section of Beverly Hills, somebody pulled over for just a second, rolled down their window and went, "Weeds! Love your shit!" And then just drove off. And it was bizarre. It's the only time it's ever happened. It was very weird. Some modest explaining to people. It was a very strange time for it to happen. It was also the same day. I told this story once and only once. I'm not going to do it here again. You shouldn't believe me. There's no reason to ever believe me. This story, I've told it once before, because you shouldn't believe anybody who would have a story that is this good, because it can't be true. But it really did happen to me. It happened on the same night that I saw, what's his face? I was with the same group of people that, oh my God, Josh Brolin. I was with when I had Josh Brolin stop and asked to take a picture of somebody I was with. That was that same day. It was a very interesting day. But both things truly happened on one weird ass day in Beverly Hills and then Santa Monica. Ah, what a Californian story. What a Californian story. Even though I'm not going to go into the whole Josh Bro because you shouldn't believe it because it can't be true. Zach asked, does Long Beach have Cushion Grab? Yes, they have Cushion Grab. They've got Cushion Grab's existence since the very beginning. It still exists. They seem to just churn people. It seems like a miserable place to work, actually. Just having heard some stuff through the grapevine, but that business still exists. I think it must get a lot of either tourists or first and only timers because I don't think anybody has a lot of positive things to say about Cushigram around here. Tom says, do you have any wheat swag you sell? T-shirts, stickers, etc. Tom, I do not. I don't have anything. I hope I never. I would love to have something if people really wanted it, but I don't really want to sell people things. I don't want to be a person who asks for money. Certainly not in the term of like, well, one, ads. I don't do. I've never accepted money from anybody. I don't need to keep going into this too much, but I try to keep it very free of money here. That's a bad way of saying it, but like I don't want you guys. I don't want anybody to feel like they need to give me money for anything here ever. Like I always find it icky. I can't say it always will be true. I just can't. But like, and if I ever change, you will of course know, and there will be some reason for it other than just that I decided to take money for stuff now. But like, I've never accepted money to do anything. It's, and I just don't want to. I find it all gross. Like I'm trying to keep it pretty. No merch. Nobody needs a where. I mean, the one piece of wheat's memorabilia stuff we have is a shitty pair of giant underpants. So I don't think anybody really wants a mini flagpole with stained underwear on them anyways. I was out trying to film some more bumpers this weekend, and that's why I have these on the flagpole. We've been going in between our videos. Yeah, nobody needs more junk, especially from me. I promise. Tom, that's so nice of you to say, and that's of course a reason why anybody would want to do it. But I feel like I don't know how I could do it in such a way and not make it seem like I'm actually. The only way I think I could ever do it is if I could find some way to give it away for free. But I don't also want to spend a lot of money to give stuff away for free. But if I could ever, it's not too expensive to print stickers. If I ever do a meetup or whatever, I will have plenty of free stickers. Because that can be done quite cheaply. And you are free to advertise for me if you'd like. Because we're not asking for money. What's strange is some of this is really gross to get into, and I won't get into it too much, but be wary, especially of people on social media who have about the same level of following or number of people who kind of check out their stuff as I do, because that is actually right now the biggest, newest, hottest vector for marketing campaigns and advertising campaigns, is getting people who have small groups of people that watch them, because people tend to trust them more and think that they are, they still are, have more of a less, exactly what I'm saying right now is like, oh, I don't want your money. But that sort of like trusting relationship gets exploited by a lot of people. And there are tons of people, especially if you are in a niche field online, like if you're talking about something that not a lot of people are currently, it's not a crowded topic space, you probably get a lot of offers from companies to advertise things for you. It, I mean, there's a lot of money in the weed space that people want to find people to try to sell things for them. It happens. So just be wary and know that, that, there's a lot of advertising dollars out there, even in places you would not expect to find them. And it's gross. But I have not, I don't have any, never accepted a dime from anybody, ever. And I promise you, I will let everybody know the second that changes, if that ever changes. Okay. Sorry about the rant. Very self-indulgent, self-involved. Let's get a final dab in here. Tom A says, capitalism at its ugliest. That is true. I mean, it's also just capitalism doing capitalism and, seeping its way into every possible nook and cranny to find every way to, convince people to purchase more things. And I would never tell anybody to purchase anything, and I've never accepted anything from anybody. I've never, like, I wouldn't be gross and advertise things. And boy, my throat is really parched. And this brisk lemonade from Lipton, a Unilever brand, is excellent at quenching my thirst. Brisk. It's a juice beverage. No, I don't believe in advertising. All right. My voice is going. Getting really rambling, talking again about advertising. So it means we are coming to the end. I would love to do one last good chat with you guys. If anybody can come up with a fun thing to talk about, we'll have a nice little rant. Otherwise, let's get this final dab going. Jealousy cross banana cream. I'll have to come up with something to talk about myself. Well, here we go. A nice, sizable last dab. Okay, well, let's do a little bit of coughing because I think I'm going to be doing that a while. I'm going to go ahead and give this voice a rest. Uh, I hope I will be back tomorrow. I can't guarantee it, but if I do, it'll be probably around the same time. No guarantees. I hope so, though. But for sure, I will be back on Thursday. Gonna do another premiere 1:15 p.m. PST, 4:15 Eastern time, and I'll be live streaming again after that for sure. So let's. I hope you guys will hang out with us then. Charlie, earlier, if you're still out there, let's try to make Destiny happen. Send me some kind of message so I'll remember it. And maybe I can put out feelers for others if they're interested too. I've been wanting to do this for so long. It's time to buckle down and do it. Yeah, that'll do it then. I'm going to go play some Steam Deck. I don't have anything more admirable to do than that. It's been wonderful hanging out with